What is up, you guys? It is, of course, me, the one and only Mr. DC Cats, and welcome back to today's video, where we are talking, of course, Star Wars. So, for context, I've always been a prequel enjoyer. And, growing up, prequels are my favorite Star Wars movies, and of course that holds true here. So, what I thought I'd do, it's been so long since I watched a lot of the Star Wars movies. It's been a long time since I've sat down and binged the whole Skywalker saga, and of course now that includes the sequel trilogy with the 3 movies. Episode 7 I remember enjoying. I watched it quite a few times. Episode 8 I watched in the theaters, and then I watched the first hour at home, when it came out on digital. And I've only seen episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, in the movie theater. And I remember hating it with a passion. So I thought what I'd do is I would go through my initial thoughts I had for 1 through 9, watching them literally back to back. And then at the end we can rank them in a tier list, just because I think it'll be kind of fun to do. Now I will say, going forward through this list, the only movies, the only ones that I had a previous formed opinion on, and the opinion stayed true, was Revenge of the Sith, The Force Awakens, and The Phantom Menace. And we'll go over what those opinions were as we get to them. So, of course, let's start with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So, Episode 1, as a whole, gets a lot of flack. It's a little bit better nowadays with prequel love really coming around. But I think as an independent movie, it's really good. Don't watch it as part of the trilogy for the prequels. If you just want to sit down and watch a fun family movie, beginning, middle, end, Episode 1 wraps up to the point where you could continue it by watching 2 and 3, but it's so encased in its own little bubble that it's fine just to watch it all by itself. That's what I've always thought, and yeah, that still holds true. I would say it's... I remember it having worse CGI than it actually does have from the last time I watched it. It's actually not that bad. But yeah, it's pretty good. Fun time all in all. Now, Attack of the Clones. Wow, I do not remember liking Attack of the Clones as much. I know that I didn't hate it as a lot of other people do. A lot of people, the main consensus now is that Attack of the Clones is the weakest of the prequel films. And I would say, if we're putting all 3 of them together, that is definitely not the case. Episode 1 is definitely the weakest. Although it's a fun family film, it's the weakest overall of the basis of a Star Wars film, because Attack of the Clones was really good. I do not remember it being this good. I really, really enjoyed it. And yes, people complain about the wooden dialogue and the acting being kind of bad, but I have some other opinions that we'll come back around to that when we talk about movies later in the franchise. Now, of course, let's go to Revenge of the Sith, which has always been my favorite Star Wars movie, and that holds up. Spoilers for the end of the video when we do the tier list. This is going to get S tier. I think not only is this the best Star Wars movie, I think this is one of the best sci-fi movies. I think this is one of the best CGI-heavy movies. I love this movie. This is such a good time. It's the darkest Star Wars movie out of all 9 of them in the mainline Skywalker saga. And I don't know, I just really dig it. The fighting choreography is amazing. There's so many good lightsaber battles. There's such a good space battle at the beginning it opens up with. And it's just all in all a good movie. So there's not much more I can say to that. Okay, now we step on in to the original trilogy, Episode 4. Now, funnily enough, I remember liking Episode 4 a little bit more than I did this time around. Now, controversial opinion, I know. I don't really like Episode 4. I never really did. I always thought it was kind of a drag comparatively compared to literally every other one. And obviously that's to be expected. I understand that. I understand it's the first movie, it's an independent film, and just the time it came out, right? So obviously that's all to be expected. But on a scale, watching 1 to 9, 4, in my opinion, is definitely the weakest movie. Would I rather watch this than other ones out of the 9 movies? Yes. But still, of the original trilogy, in my opinion, this is the weakest. So, episode 5, wow. What an upset, in my personal opinion. I remember hating Empire with a passion. I actually, growing up, did not like Empire at all. I thought it was the worst of the 6 films. The original George Lucas 6, I should say. Yeah, I loved this. Oh my god. It's been so long since I watched the original trilogy. Usually when I watch Star Wars, I watch the prequels because I grew up with those ones, more attached to them. Wow, there's a reason people say Empire is the definitive Star Wars movie. I can definitely see those opinions. I loved it. I loved it this time around. It's kind of wild that I just didn't. I wonder why I didn't like this growing up. I honestly don't know why, but yeah, Empire, super solid movie, super solid sequel, especially considering my opinions on A New Hope. Now to Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi, historically, I really loved it growing up. It was my favorite Star Wars movie growing up, and that makes sense because, notoriously there's a whole bunch of silly stuff in it because George Lucas was heavily pivoting to making the movies more for kids as opposed to more for a general family audience. I was a kid, it worked on me. Watching it now, it's still alright, yeah, I'd say that. I've had the opinion for well over a decade now. It's not like my favorite. That's obviously Revenge of the Sith, as I said, but yeah, my opinion stays true. Return of the Jedi is a fun time, fun family movie. You got kids, you want to watch a fun, wholesome Star Wars movie? Pop in Return of the Jedi. You'll have a good time all the time. Okay, now let's get on into the sequels. So, starting with The Force Awakens, I love this movie. This is a really good movie. I never understand. People love to say, well, this is just A New Hope over again. Okay, first of all, how? No, it's not. The only way I can possibly think of it's A New Hope over again is, well, there's another Death Star. Well, there's another Death Star in Return of the Jedi, and people don't have that complaint in Return of the Jedi. Is it dumb? Yeah, but it's also Star Wars, my guys, okay? I think it's fine. To me personally, especially watching them back to back, it does not seem anything like A New Hope at all. I mean, I would personally argue that this feels more in line almost with Attack of the Clones than it does with A New Hope, just in tone of character and all that in dialogue. Now to The Last Jedi. Holy shit. Watching them back to back, 1 to 9. Wow, Last Jedi is a drag. And it's so unfortunate because to me personally, it is a drag in the second half, right? Like the entire first half, like with Rey and that weird hole in the ground, like the dark side energy, good stuff. Rey and Luke, good stuff. The fun, silly stuff with the Porgs and Chewbacca, good stuff. But then as soon as we get to Crate, I think that's the Salt Planet, if I remember. As soon as we get to there, as soon as we have, basically up until the Snoke fight, where Rey and Kylo Ren fight with the guards, I'm not going to say more than that, because spoilers, I guess. I don't know. I don't really care. They kill Snoke. This movie sucks. Okay, to episode 9. Wow. What an upset, man. First with Empire, now with Rise of Skywalker. I remember hating this movie with a passion. And there are definitely reasons to hate it. I can see that and I can agree that. Oh boy, spoilers ahead here, but Rey Skywalker, so stupid. Kylo Ren and Rey kissing, So fucking stupid. I actually hated those. With that being said, this is nowhere near as bad as The Last Jedi. This is actually a significantly better movie. Like, I would even go as far as to say, watch 7 and then 9. Like, just don't watch 8. 8 doesn't need to happen. It's almost crazy saying that, but it's so true. So so yeah, that's my initial reactions with 1 through 9. The only thing I forgot to say, because I said I was going to come back to it, is people love to complain about the dialogue of the prequels being like wooden and janky. But in my opinion, so take this with a grain of salt, in A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi, the dialogue is just as bad, honestly. It's just as wooden and janky. Not all the time, but there are a lot of points. Like, when we were watching Return of the Jedi, and from a certain point of view, like Obi-Wan doing that is so dumb. I hate that so much with a passion. It just seems so cheesy and goofy to me personally. I understand, like I said earlier, George put it in because he was pivoting more towards kids, and so you had to explain, well, Obi-Wan didn't lie, but still, I don't know, I just never understood that argument of, well, the prequel dialogue sucks. Man, the original trilogy dialogue ain't much better. Alright, now let's get to our tier listing. So get ready for controversy. Okay, so we'll start off with obviously the thing I already said, Revenge of the Sith. Let's go ahead and right now put Revenge of the Sith S tier. In my opinion, it is definitively the best Star Wars movie. I just wanted to put that there first because I already said it. Okay, so Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace I'm going to go ahead and put in A tier. Fight Me. It's pretty good. Attack of the Clones, we're also going to put in A tier. A lot better than I remember it being, honestly. And yeah, I just think it belongs there. Now, A New Hope. I'm going to put A New Hope in C tier. Fight me in the comments, bro. Okay. This is my own personal list, and I know it sucks probably to some people, but Empire. I'm going to put Empire S tier, man. Empire is pretty fucking good. I honestly do not remember liking Empire this much ever as a kid. It was my least favorite of the original trilogy, and now here it is, my probably second favorite Star Wars film after Revenge of the Sith. I really liked Empire. Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is really good, but it also has some like weird flaws to me personally. But I'm gonna put Return of the Jedi A tier. Okay, now we get into the sequel trilogy. So Episode 7, controversially, I'm gonna put A tier also, because I really like it. It's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. Episode 8. Yeah, Episode 8's an F tier. I honestly would not recommend this. This is a piece of shit. And like I said, it's unfortunate because there's some really good stuff, right? Like, I really like the mutiny Poe has, and it's good because like they don't have, they could do different things with that story, but they, instead of like making him look like this big bad character, this stupid man, it comes full circle. Like Leia's like, yeah, that's just how he is. That's why I like him so much. So, despite all that stuff, though, it's just, I think my problem for Episode 8 the most is it feels like every scene explains too much. Every scene goes on for like a minute or two too long. And, man, out of all 9 movies, honestly, Episode 8 has the worst dialogue, period. Like, and it's such a shame because Rian Johnson can make a good movie, but just the dialogue in Episode 8 itself honestly took me out of it. Like, it's so bad and cheesy. Episode 9, I'm gonna give D tier, just because as a whole, I think Palpatine coming back is kind of stupid. it makes sense. It's not the worst thing. My biggest problem is, well, they should have planned for it. Because if you tease that it's really Palpatine, like if you had this plan in 7 and 8, I think it could have worked a lot better because Palpatine is the big bad. He's the Thanos of Star Wars. But the way they did it, pretty bad. It's not an F tier. It's not as bad as Last Jedi, but, it's not as good as any of the other movies. So, yeah, that's where my listings. Are they controversial? Do they suck? Am I a horrible Star Wars fan? Comment down below and let me know. Do you agree that Revenge of the Sith and Empire are the two best Star Wars movies definitively? If you don't agree, I don't care. Alright. Well, anyway, that's been a random video. Bye, friends.